I don't believe in haunted buildings. I believe in bad construction, underfunded maintenance, and spreadsheets that refuse to balance. Most of the time, if a property feels cursed, it's just neglected. If a stairwell feels too long, it's because someone cut corners on design. My job is not to listen to ghost stories. My job is to read incident reports. I work for a company that owns too many buildings and not enough common sense. On paper, I'm a risk manager. In reality, I'm a professional reader of other people's mistakes. Slip and falls. Electrical fires. Faulty alarms. I feed them into models and they spit out numbers. Numbers that say, raise premiums here. Replace a boiler there. Close this stairwell until you figure out why the handrail failed. Buildings talk. Not with voices, but with statistics. That's how this one got my attention. It didn't look special at first glance. Mid-rise, 20 floors, a little old, nothing dramatic. But in the monthly portfolio summary, there was a column that made me stop. Incident rate, stairs, per 100 units. This building was wrong. Not higher in any obvious way. Not full of broken bones and lawsuits. Just, out of pattern. If I ignored floor labels and unit numbers, the math suggested there were more vertical transitions than there should have been. As if the building sometimes had one more level than the plans said. I ran the query again. Same result. I pulled the building's file. At the top of the digital folder was a short list. Fire incident, none recorded in last 10 years. Elevator entrapments, low. Injury claims, minor. Tenant complaints, stairs feel long, weird hallway noise, elevator stops between floors. That last one had a note attached. Elevator vendor says no fault found. Controller shows null floor between 19 and 20 on 3 nights. Cleared after reboot. I scrolled. There were references to a night guard named Lee who had quit. A cleaner named Marta. A camera tech named Ryan. A fire inspector listed only as Sawyer, external consultant. All normal people doing normal jobs. All of them had left comments that sounded like they were trying to explain something without writing the word impossible. I clicked on an internal ticket from a few years back. Subject, Stair A, landing count question. The note read. Guard reports additional landing between 19 and 20 on night rounds. Drawing says 1. Physical count sometimes gives 2. Possible mislabel or perception error. No action taken. It was tagged monitor only. No one had closed it. Our system had simply rolled it forward across versions. That's not how this is supposed to work, I muttered. I pulled a coffee toward me and opened the incident export in a separate window. I set the date range to the last 10 years. I filtered by keywords. Stairs, landing, between 19 and 20, floor 21. 23 results. Too many for a simple typo. There's a point where data stops being noise. It's not about one report with a weird sentence. It's about a pattern of almost identical sentences from people who never met each other. Stairs between 19 and 20 feel longer than drawn. Tenant says stairwell door between 19 and 20 opened onto wrong floor, could not replicate. Camera shows hallway labeled floor 21, no such level on plan. One of the internal memos had a photo attached. It was a low-resolution snapshot of a CCTV feed. The label in the corner read. Camera 21, floor 21. A hallway that matched the general look of the building. Beige carpet. Off-white walls. Unremarkable doors. Except the door number plates were blank. I zoomed in until the pixels broke apart. No hidden markings. No obvious splice. Just a hallway that shouldn't exist, recorded by a camera the system said wasn't installed. If this were a horror movie, This would be the point where the smart character closes the laptop and transfers departments. In real life, I opened a new tab and pulled the building's engineering files. The original construction documents said 20 floors. The final occupancy certificate agreed. 20 floors. 2 stairs. 1 roof level. The evacuation diagrams in the scanned folder all showed 20. But the change log told another story. Buried in the revision history was a note. Stair A, additional intermediate landing between levels 19 and 20. Adjust sign. Confirm final numbering. The adjustment had been marked completed. No one had attached proof. I checked our internal risk notes from around that time. One line, written by a predecessor whose name I didn't recognize. Anomalous stairwell counts. Might be an architectural quirk. Do not schedule night inspections alone. It was half joke, half warning. I didn't like that I couldn't tell which half was heavier. I could have filed a generic needs further study and moved on. But the incident rate on my screen was still wrong. If I used the building's declared floors, the rate was slightly out of spec. If I pretended there were 21 floors instead of 20, the statistics flattened out. The numbers behaved. My model liked the building better when it had a floor that didn't exist. That bothered me more than any ghost story. So I requested a site visit. Our company likes it when you say you're doing due diligence. They sign the travel approval faster. Harris, the property manager, called me the day before. I heard you're coming, he said. His voice was exactly the tired one I'd read between the lines. We've had a lot of consultants lately, he added. Cameras, fire safety, leak guys. If this is about the stairs again. It is, I said. On paper, your building keeps changing height. I want to see where the extra step is hiding. He gave a short, humorless laugh. I'll meet you in the lobby, he said. Try to come before dark. The building looked exactly like 100 others I'd seen. A lobby trying to look modern on top of an older structure. A bored clerk at the front desk. A plant in the corner that might have been real once. Harris met me with a folder under his arm. He looked like he hadn't been sleeping well. Elevators over there, he said. Stair A is behind that door. Stair B on the other side. Where do you want to start? Paper first, I said. Then stairs. He led me into a small side office and spread his folder on the table. Printed evacuation plans. An updated fire safety report. A letter from the city reminding them of their next inspection date. I laid my own printouts next to his. On one of my sheets, the building was represented as a simple stack of rectangles, each a floor. On his, the same. 20 levels. But when I overlaid my incident density chart over the stack, the darkest band wasn't centered on 19 or 20. It floated between them. Have any tenants ever reported a missing floor? I asked, keeping my voice neutral. He hesitated. Not exactly, he said. Some say they came out of the stairs on the wrong level once. Some say the stairwell doubled back. One said she thought she saw a door labeled 21, but she'd just moved out of another building, so I chalked it up to habit. He rubbed his forehead. We had a guard who didn't like the stairs after a while, he added. He started taking the elevator even for 2 floors. Then he quit. Lee, I said. His eyes flicked up. You read the old logs, he said. Of course you did. I nodded. I don't care about ghost stories, I said. I care about what happens to people when the lights are off and the alarms are on. He gave me a look that said he wasn't sure there was a difference. We started with stair A. The door from the lobby opened onto a concrete stairwell that smelled of dust and cleaning chemicals. Somewhere far above, a door banged lightly. I counted steps. From the lobby to the second floor. From 2 to 3. My count and the drawings agreed. No surprises. At the landing between 17 and 18, I saw the wide, familiar water stain on the ceiling. I'd seen it in a photo attached to an old maintenance ticket. In person, it looked like a dark halo. What's above that? I asked. Nothing that should be leaking, Harris said. Everyone who's looked at it says condensation. Everyone who looked at it once, I mean. No one likes coming back. I made a note on my clipboard. At 19, we stepped out onto the hallway so I could confirm the "You Are Here" diagram on the wall. It matched the official version. Simple box. 2 stairs. No tricks. When we re-entered stair A from 19, I felt it. Not a temperature change, not exactly. More like the space between breaths got longer. We climbed. My feet counted out of habit. By the time we reached the next landing, the number in my head didn't match what it should have been. And the landing itself felt uncommitted. Like the building hadn't quite decided whether it wanted it to exist. On the wall, where a small metal sign should have read level 20, there was only an empty frame. The paper that belonged behind the plastic was missing. "You ever have a sign here?" I asked. "Not that I remember," Harris said. He sounded honest. I reached up and tapped the frame with my knuckle. Something shifted inside. Thick paper, folded. "May I?" I asked. He nodded. I pried the frame open with a flathead screwdriver from my bag. Inside, jammed behind the plastic, was a small folded card. It had once been white. Now it was gray at the edges, as if it had soaked up years of stairwell air. I opened it carefully. On one side, in a neat font, it said, "Level 20. On the other side, in faint, faded ink, someone had handwritten over the printed 0/21. The slash and the 21 had been crossed out in pen. Underneath, someone else had written, smaller, "Do not post." My fingers felt colder where they touched the paper. I slid it back into the frame and closed it. "Let's keep going," I said. We stepped up one more flight and came to the door labeled 20. The sign on this landing was crisp and new. Level 20. The door hardware was up to code. The closer worked. If I hadn't seen the folded card in the frame below, I would have said everything was perfectly normal. We went to the roof and back down. We walked stair B for comparison. No anomalies. No missing signs. Just worn steps and tired paint. If you stayed in stair B, you could pretend this was just another building. Back in the office, I opened my laptop and loaded our internal model. I input my measurements. The software redrew the schematic. The stair height from lobby to 19. From 19 to 20. From 20 to roof. The program recommended an adjustment to one of the stair segments. It highlighted the span between 19 and 20. "Does not match declared rise/run," it flashed in red. Then, for a moment, the diagram glitched. The stack of floors on the left side of the screen showed an extra thin rectangle between 19 and 20. No label. Just a line. Then it was gone. The stack returned to 20 levels. "Did you see that?" I asked. "See what?" Harris said. I didn't answer. We scheduled a follow-up visit for the next week, this time to review the building's digital and paper records more thoroughly. Before I went back, I went deeper into our own archives. I found an old PDF from before Harris's tenure. It was a scanned letter from the city's fire department. Subject: clarification of stair signage, levels 19 to 21. Except someone had taken a black marker to the 21. The text was fuzzy, but I could make out parts. Resident complaint about door labeled 21 in stair A. No such floor on approved plans. Instructed building to remove sign and correct mapping. Attached was a tiny photograph, low resolution, clearly taken years ago with an older phone. It showed a gray fire door in a stairwell. On it, a plastic number plate. 21. I should have been able to dismiss it. Old mistake. Bad labeling. But the way the marker ink had bled over the 21 on the letter felt less like a correction and more like an attempt to erase the idea itself. On my second visit, I asked Harris if we could see the basement records. He sighed, but he led me down. The archive room smelled like every other basement, full of paper, dust, cold concrete, old toner. On one of the shelves, we found a box labeled floor plans, old/not in use. Inside were rolled up copies of the evacuation diagrams that now hung framed in the hallways. One set caught my eye. On the diagram for 19 and 20, someone had sketched, in pencil, a faint extra landing on stair A. Between 19 and 20, a small rectangle with the note: landing, 2021st, verify in field. No one had gone back with a pen to cross it out. It had just been left there, half thought, half drawn. Your company ever considered closing this building? I asked, still looking at the page. Harris let out a breath that was almost a laugh. Only every quarter, he said. But it still makes money, and the city hasn't condemned it yet. He paused. You thinking of recommending something? I'm thinking of understanding it first, I said. Back at my own desk later that week, I started writing my report. At the top, I put the usual things: building address, type, age, major systems. In the section for stairwells/means of egress, I summarized what I had seen. 2 stairs, A and B, serving all levels. Stair B normal. Stair A shows ambiguous landing count between floors 19 and 20. Physical steps appear to exceed planned rise/run. Signage partially inconsistent. In the section for historical incident patterns, I hesitated. How much of the weirdness do you put into a report that is supposed to be read by people who live and die by check boxes? In the end, I wrote. Multiple independent reports over several years describe spatial anomalies between levels 19 and 20, perceived extra turn, wrong floor exits, hallway labeled 21 on internal camera system. These cannot be confirmed against current plans but recur often enough to constitute a pattern. I stopped there. I didn't write that my own model behaved better when I treated the building as if it had 21 floors. I didn't write that my screen had glitched. I added a recommendation. Given age and accumulating anomalies, consider decommissioning building at end of current insurance period. Alternatively, perform major renovation including full stairwell rebuild. That was as close as I could get to. Close it before it decides to add another floor. I exported the report to PDF and sent it to my supervisor for review. Then I did what I always do when I'm not sure how a document looks from the outside. I emailed a copy to myself. Just to see my own words the way a client would. A few minutes later, the familiar notification popped up. New message, subject, risk report, building address. I opened it. The PDF preview looked normal. 20-page document, our company logo in the corner. I scrolled to the page with the little schematic stack of floors that my software always includes. There they were. A column of rectangles, each labeled L1, L2, L3. Up to L20. I blinked. Between L19 and L20, there was a thinner rectangle. No label. The lines were faint, as if drawn with less opacity. When I zoomed in, a tooltip popped up, as if it were a live model and not a static PDF. Level 2021st, stair A. My cursor had not moved. I took my hand off the mouse. The tooltip vanished. When I scrolled away and back, the extra rectangle was gone. Just 20 floors again. I checked the document properties. Generated by my software. Modified by me. No one else. I closed the file, reopened the original from my hard drive. This time, the stack was perfectly ordinary. I told myself it was a rendering glitch in the preview, nothing more. I did not entirely believe myself. My supervisor approved the report with minimal comments. Language is a little dramatic in incident pattern section, he wrote. But recommendation is sound. Mark for portfolio exit next year if market conditions allow. 2 weeks later, the building went into the potential disposal list. In practical terms, that meant no major new investment, no expansions, no expensive repairs unless absolutely necessary. In human terms, it meant the building had a timestamp on it. When I checked the incident dashboard at the end of the quarter, something else had changed. The anomaly in the stair incident rate was gone. Now, when I ran the model with 20 floors, the numbers behaved. The out-of-pattern bump between 19 and 20 had flattened. As if the building had accepted its upcoming fate and stopped trying to add another level. In the log, someone had finally closed the old stair A, landing count question ticket. Resolution, no further action. Building scheduled for exit. The same day, a new low priority alert appeared in the system. Remote stream reconnected, camera_21. No IP address. No description. Just a timestamp. 3:12 a.m. I opened the detail page. All it showed was a link to an internal video archive I didn't have permissions for. Request access, said the button. I hovered over it for a long moment. Then I closed the window. On my last follow-up call with Harris, I told him the official version. The building is being considered for sale or decommissioning in the next cycle, I said. Nothing is final, but you should know. He was quiet for a moment. I can't say I'll miss it, he said finally. But I'm not sure it will let us go that easily. Buildings don't let or not let. They are steel and concrete and bad choices. Yet, as I write this, a copy of the report sits in my files. If I open it late at night, when the office is empty and the only light is my monitor, sometimes the thumbnail preview flickers. For a frame or two, there is a thin extra line between 19 and 20 in the stack of floors. No label. Just space. Waiting. I still don't believe in haunted buildings. I just believe that some structures refuse to match the documents that describe them. And some reports close over things that were never meant to be measured. This story is a work of fiction, created purely for entertainment. Any resemblance to real people, buildings, or events is purely coincidental.